Without the influence and efforts of Katherine Hayes Rodriguez, adaptive skiing likely wouldn't exist as it does today. Katherine first came to Tahoe on a ski vacation, and she loved it so much she never left. She graduated high school early, put on her red stretch ski pants, bandana, headband, and headed to Heavenly in South Lake Tahoe. She bussed tables at Harrah's Casino and skied daily at Heavenly, where she was one of the few women to be called a face rat, a group of ski-bumming free skiers that lapped the face of Heavenly day in and day out.
Skiing means to me, it's probably my ultimate passion in life.
While Katherine was out loving the mountains, her inquisitive nature always had her looking at the larger world of skiing.
My first adaptive ski lesson in 1976 at Ski Incline ended up being actually my first lesson I ever taught with a blind lady. And my friend Bob Guerrero asked me to teach because he was shorthanded. He was from the Rehab Center for the Blind in Reno. And we had a pretty good lesson. We stayed alive, and I guided her and didn't run her into anything and taught her a few things. And at the end of the day, I knew that it was like a light switch went on, that my life had to change, that this was the direction and the kind of population of people that I wanted to work with.
That day at Diamond Peak led Katherine to assemble a group of like-minded ski instructors that became known as the Tahoe Handicap Ski School. This group taught adaptive ski lessons at a handful of ski areas around North Lake Tahoe.
In the beginning, with the original Rat Pack of guys from Vietnam up at Donner Ski Ranch in the 60s, a ski club to what we have become now was kind of a long and torturous process where we saw that being a ski club wasn't going to get us part of the ski areas. We needed to become ski professionals so that we were recognized and respected.
This coalition of instructors found funding and became the National Handicap Sports and Recreation Association clinic team. Katherine and company traveled around the country teaching others how to ski, how to race, and how to teach adaptive skiing, as well as successfully lobbying ski resorts and Professional Ski Instructors of America, PSIA, to include adaptive as a legitimate discipline.
I feel like it was our job to prove to the ski industry that what we were doing with adaptive skiers was valid and just. And to that end, rather than being a big ski club with a bunch of volunteers that were loosely trained, I decided to join the Professional Ski Instructor and Snowboard Instructors Organization in 1981. And from there, we pressed on to PSIA. We conducted our own national exams starting in 1984 through National Handicap Sports. We did that for 3 years, and every year we lobbied the National PSIA board. Please come and watch our exams. Please see that what we're doing is structured and a very professional approach to teaching skiing. And finally, in 1987, they came and observed our adaptive exams at Mammoth. And in the next year, PSIA adopted adaptive as a discipline in their organization. And for us that had worked so hard over that whole decade to have documents, exams, professionalism, it was a huge victory to be included with that wonderful organization.
For instance, when we first started this certification movement in the United States, there was nobody. This is what's interesting. This disabled skiing thing was very rare and odd and unique in those days, in the early days. But it just warms my heart to see how common it is now, all over the world. You know, we traveled to Korea to introduce it to Korea, to Spain, and It's spreading such a good stuff that everybody does it. It is the exception when you go to a skier and they don't have some form of an adaptive program anywhere. And so that's her impact on adaptive skiing.
Katherine was breaking into a good old boys club. This was a men's club. And for a strong, outgoing woman, she had to fight for her place in line. And she did that. She let people know that she was not going to be pushed down and allowed other women to follow behind her. So I think that is an aspect of Katherine that we may forget, that it's more than just adaptive, but it's also women in those leadership, administrative, clinician, examiner roles that were not there before Katherine.
Being a woman in the ski industry now is so wonderful to see so many female instructors as part of all the ski schools. When I first started, it was not a regular thing to have women teaching in management. We have a lot of great role models locally, but it wasn't always an accepted thing to be a female and be a ski instructor. So kind of as our students with disabilities had those challenges, we as women breaking into the ski industry, it was another challenge, but I like to think at this point it's been conquered.
While all this change and accomplishment was happening, personal challenges came to impact Katherine.
In 1982, I was diagnosed with adult onset epilepsy, and I thought when I received the diagnosis that I might have a good way to deal with it, having dealt with people with diagnosis of disabilities for years at that point. I didn't realize that a diagnosis like that would affect every facet of my life. It would affect my relationships, it would affect my safety, it would affect my ability to ski, it would affect how I could go to work or recover from a seizure. And there were years of trying to manage the medication and control the seizures and deciding that perhaps I could have a family with my husband. These are all things that are deeper than the surface picture you might see for someone with a disability. And I'm fortunate now to be healthy and happy, and there were some very challenging years in my life.
Motivated by her love of skiing and how skiing can positively impact our lives, Katherine was determined to make sure that everyone could feel the same joy on the mountain that she felt.
We always felt that people diagnosed with a disability had just as much right as we did to be skiing and enjoying life and being part of the community. There's something about skiing and the gravitational force and the beauty of movement on Earth without any kind of encumbrance that has really lent skiing as a primary sport to adaptive athletes. I think it's the best sport for adaptive athletes, and out of our little ski club, and then our ski program has grown over 200 Move United chapters with sports all over the map, to track and field, sailing, paddleboarding, it goes on, spawned the Paralympics. And I just think that it all starts with how one of our skiers feels going down the hill. There's nothing to match the feeling of skiing.
Through training generations of interns, staff members, and volunteers, Katherine has continued to position Achieve Tahoe as the leader of adaptive snow sports, both in terms of professionalism and in pushing participants towards independence and that feeling of accomplishment you get when you achieve something you never thought you could do?
In the 80s, I worked with this great gal named Marcia, and she came to our program, and she walked in with 2 canes and 2 long wooden legs that only flexed at the knees. She was a double above the knee amputee. And her goal was to be able to get off the chairlift, place her outriggers down, and ski off the ramp independently. And I said, well, seeing as how you don't have any quadriceps muscles or hamstring muscles, it could be a little bit of a challenge, but we'll work on it. So after a couple days of yanking her off the chairlift, helping her stand up, and pretty much dragging her off the top of the ramp, and in our last couple runs, she finally stood up on her own. It was just so thrilling for both of us to have the hard work finally pay off. And she joined a ski club and was able to go skiing independently. She sent me a few pictures of herself. And then a year later, she sent me a wedding invitation. She'd met the love of her life in her ski club. And I like to think I had something to do with that little romantic hookup. I feel that it all comes down to my love of teaching. And all the people that work at the program, we love to teach someone not only the act of skiing or making a turn left or right, but being able to push themselves through the lift line, being able to get off the chairlift by themselves. And we teach skiing, but it's only a vehicle for the bigger picture in the life of our students. And there's nothing to match the feeling of imparting that gift of independence, love of skiing to one of our students. It's the greatest joy that I've had in my career, is teaching a lesson and giving the gift of love and skiing all at the same time.
It's been an absolute pleasure to be part of Katherine's movement, the birth and growth of adaptive skiing, and it was a joy to watch a friend and a colleague put out 110% throughout her career. As she now makes more time for herself, she's still incredibly connected and committed to training and sharing everything she knows about ski teaching to anyone with an interest who comes through that door. My hard ass and sometimes intimidating friend is a compassionate, kind, and considerate human being who wants everyone to succeed.
The 3 things I'm most proud of in my life are my marriage to my wonderful husband, Neil, my great kids, Zeke and Tabor, and achieve Tahoe. I feel that in the course of my life and over the course of my career, Achieve Tahoe grew from a small kind of motley crew of characters to this best and most accomplished adaptive program, I believe, in the world.